Hello and welcome to Gaga Knits. My name's Anita and this is where I share my knitting, crochet and sewing with you all. I am in the craft room today and not the pod because we are going away at Easter time in the camp pod and I need to get it all sorted. So I thought I would film in here instead. It's a lovely sunny day here in South Wales, but very windy. So my craft room's in the front of the house and I get a lot of sun in here, so I'm hoping the light will be nice, although I am aware I'm a bit dark on that side. Never mind. I have knitting, crochet and sewing for you this week. Lots of finished objects, some for our trip away, and I've also got 2 knitting whips to share with you. So let's crack on and start as we mean to go on with the first knitting project. I am joining in with Garlene from I always have difficulty saying this, the Kitchen Sink Shops Makealong, which is to make a temperature dishcloth every month. And I'll just get my little card out. So you could buy a pattern from Garlene. It was only a couple of pounds, a very basic dishcloth pattern. So I purchased that just to support her. And then you select different yarns for different temperatures through the year. I did mine in 2-degree increments like this. And I used Drops Paris Unicolor 100% cotton, that's Aran weight, this yarn. And the nice thing about this yarn is that there are loads and loads of different colors to choose from. And I obviously haven't got to this one yet because this is a hot color. So I started at 0 degrees with white, and they slowly go up through the blues and greens, then the yellows, oranges and red. And mostly I have been in the white, blue, grey and green. I used 3.5mm straight needles to make this particular dishcloth. I think I started off the year making them with 4mm, but preferred the fabric with a 3.5. And this is my March dishcloth. And I haven't actually used the pattern that I bought for the Makealong to make this. This is the Apple Tart dishcloth pattern, also from Garlene. You probably know already, but if you sign up to her newsletter, you get a free dishcloth pattern every month. And she's been running this for years and years. And I've got loads and loads of patterns now, but I've made a few of them. And this is one of my favorites because I like the little pearl bumps. And I really like this version. And I have done a border around it, but I am not carrying on with the Makealong. And the reason being that because you knit 2 rows every day, all the ends end up, in my case this side, on the same side, and you have lots of ends to weave in. Now my January dishcloth, I tried to weave the ends in, and with cotton they don't blend into the fabric and they kept poking out, and I didn't like that. And February's the lovely Lenore suggested I use a crab stitch border, which I did, and it was a bit better. It mostly hid the ends, not completely, but it was a bit untidy because I'd never done that stitch before. Now this time I decided to tie a double knot in the exiting yarn and the incoming yarn for each new colour, and then I did a crochet border of double crochets across the straight bits, 2 in each corner. That's UK terms. And then the second round I did a crochet in the back loop only, and it made a nice edging, but you can still see all the knots. And I know it's just a dishcloth, but I just don't like it. So I've decided this is going to be my last dishcloth in the cal, and the rest of the yarn's not going to go to waste because I'm just going to make lots of dishcloths up with them because I do use them. I really like them, and I just chuck them in the washing machine sort of every day, every other day. And they wear really well. I washed this in shampoo and dried it on the radiator until it was just damp, and then blocked it on a blocking mat just for it to look nice for you. And also I have stolen 2 and a bit balls of the yarn for this make along to make something in my crochet section. So that's my first finished object. And my second knitting finished object is I needed a mascot for the campod for when we go away. And I settled on an emotional support chicken. I've written some notes here because I'm going to try and give you a little bit more information on each project. I'm very aware that when I start recording, all that information flies out of my head and I don't give you enough details. And if I don't explain anything or you're not sure of anything, please just drop me a line and I'll answer you and let you know if I've forgotten to explain something. So the emotional support chicken is by the Knitting Tree LA. I used 3.5mm straight needles again, and I used this James C. Brett double knitting, and the colorway is SHO2. I really like the colors and I thought it would be perfect in the campod. And you can't really see, but it's lovely and fluffy. It's got a halo to it. And here is my chicken. Now the pattern, the designer recommends worsted weight yarn, and I use DK. So obviously mine is a bit smaller. And she's a bit wonky, lover. Her feathers here a little bit wonky, but that's okay. And I think you start off, you knit the tail feathers and then you join and knit the rest of this top part, and then you do a separate section for her underbelly and sew that in. But I think I misunderstood the instructions because you can see the ribbing on this side where I joined the feathers, and I think probably you're not supposed to, but no one else is going to notice and I don't mind. So she's slightly smaller. I've stuffed her with toy stuffing, but not overly stuffed because it's quite loose, the stitching, and I didn't want the white of the stuffing to show through. So she's really lovely, and I can put her in the corner of the seats in the pod, and people can sit against her and the boys can cuddle her, and she'll be fine. I say the boys, when we go away at Easter, we're going, Jodie, Matthew and the boys are camping and we're in the pod, so they'll be over to visit us and we'll be seeing them. So she is going on our maiden voyage with us. And I have 2 knitting whips. I'm doing everything in order this week. I have been working on the Merino gloves by Susan Crawford. I'm doing the smallest size, and the needles I'm using for that are 2.25 DPNs. And here is the yarn that I'm using. It is sparkly, it's absolutely beautiful, and it's debonair yarn, and it's the 4-ply, 75% merino, 20% nylon and 5% stellina in the Midnight and Magic colorways. I have finished one I showed you before, but I am doing rather well, if I say so myself, on my second one. Let's see if I can put them both on together to show you. So this is the one I have finished. And which side is the thumb? This is the second one I've been working on. So I have got to the bottom of the fingers. I just have to do the fingers, which aren't that difficult. It's a little bit fiddly to pick up the stitches at the base, but once you've done that, it's fine. I must have quite long fingers because I had to knit them a little bit longer than she says. And I have knitted the hand a bit longer than she said. It wasn't intentional, I didn't mean to, But when I was knitting the second one and following the notes that I made from the first one, I realized I'd misread the pattern. So I'm going to do this one wrong to match that one. But I think I must have a long hand as well, although when you can't really see, but when I stretch my hand like that, there is a little bit of excess fabric. And I will probably put a picture up of the pattern. You may notice my gloves don't look anything like Susan's do, and that's because I only used 2 coloured yarns. You were meant to use 3, so you were meant to use 2 to make the colourway or the colour work, and I've only used 1, so it's come out very different to what they were meant to look like. But this yarn was so beautiful that I wanted it, and I couldn't think of another colour that would go with these 2, so I just went with what I wanted to do, really. And my second work in progress has been on the shelf for a while. I think this is an Emma Ball bag I bought at one of the shows, and I'm making the Rosary jumper by Janelle from Rosary Apparel. The yarn I am using is Drops Lima, which is a wool and alpaca blend, and that's double knit. I have completely finished the back, and I'm doing a smaller size than I should. I'm doing the 34-inch chest, which I think is the second size, and I really should have a 38. But it's quite a baggy design, and I didn't want it to be too baggy, so I'm hoping it's then not going to be too small. So that's the back that I'd finished quite a while ago, and I was doing it in the winter and finding it a bit of a struggle because it's so dark. And the needles I am using are 3.25 millimeter for the ribbing and 4 millimeter for the main body of the garment. Straight needles again. It's a straight needle month, and these are the Knit Pro Symphonies. So I love these, but they're quite dark, and then the dark yarn in the winter isn't. It just not a good thing for old eyes. So I'm going to finish this jumper now while we've got the light evenings and everything. And that's how far I have got on the front. And the only modifications I'm doing is that I'm making it shorter than the pattern says. I'm doing 12 inches up to the armhole instead of whatever the pattern suggests, which is what Janelle says to do if you want a more cropped jumper, which I do. So I'll wear this over dresses and things. So I need to be getting on with that. It's a really simple pattern to follow. It's a chevron. You can't really see, can you, in this? And it's a 12 row repeat, and the first few rows are just plain knit, and then the little chevron design is very easy to remember. Even I can remember it. And I think my stitch markers look very colourful against the black. You can also get this pattern for free if you sign up to Janelle's newsletter. A couple of people have asked me about my knitting journal. So here it is. It's from Amazon, and I bought it years and years ago, but I've looked it up and they still sell it. So I will try my best to link it in the show notes. And I really like this knitting journal. When it came, I thought it was a bit bigger than I expected, but I have used it quite a lot. There's quite a lot in there, and it's a bit of a mess. I wish I was more organized, but I keep changing my mind on how I write in them, and sometimes I go off into a different book, change my mind, and cut those pages out like there and stick them back in here. But basically, if I show you something like the penny sweater, I can put all my information on there, and I put a little picture in that I've got the little mini photo maker, and then I put the ball band and a scrap of the yarn, and then all the details, and then also any modifications and things. And I have started also writing the washing instructions in here, because for my birthday, Jodie and Matthew got me a crochet logbook. So it's something similar. I believe they probably got it in on Amazon. I'm just trying to show you. I can't really show you. I'll show you this at the end of the crochet section, because I've only got a few things in there because my birthday's in February. So it's what I've done since then, and I haven't shown you yet. So I'll show you that one at the end of the crochet section. Again, I have been trying to make things for the pod, and there isn't, it's a very small caravan, and there aren't many level spaces or shelving or anything to put things on. And so I was thinking upwards. There are a few places on the walls that I could hang things. And my plan was to have a little hanging basket on either side of the seats. One for Martin, one for myself, just to put our mobile phones in and our chargers and things. And I found a pattern from Yarnspirations called Crochet One and Done Hanging Basket. And it was a free pattern, so I thought I'd give that a go. So I looked for some yarn in Stash, and this yarn is Blue Sky Fibres Organic Worsted Cotton, and they're in there. And the colours I used were ash, grey and blue. And the pattern calls for Bernat blanket yarn, and it's like a chenille type yarn, and you use a 10mm hook, but I used a 6.5mm hook. And you had to make it in a split single crochet. So that's a US term, because the Yarnspirations are American. And I didn't know how to do that, so I had to look that up. Very slow going, that is. But this is what I produced, which is fine, but it's way too big for the pod. It's way too big for where I planned to put it. So that was a little bit disappointing, because it did take a long time to make. The instructions were nice and straightforward, because I'm not a natural crocheter. I taught myself, and I often get lost if the instructions are too complicated. So I've just put the yarn in it for now. I don't quite know what to do with it now, because I'm not going to put it in the pod. But I didn't let that get me down. I just moved on and thought, what other patterns can I use to make something for the pod? And quite a while ago on Instagram, I put a couple of pictures up of different pattern ideas for the pod, and several people said they liked this one best. I don't know if you were one of these people. And it is the Very Best Crochet Hanging Basket, another free pattern by Yarnspirations. And you make a little strawberry. So this is the temperature dishclothkal yarn that I pinched. And this strawberry is made out of 150-gram ball. I had about that much yarn left of the red when I made this, but I didn't follow the pattern completely. So I used 4mm crochet hook to make this one. And I followed the pattern in that I did all the increases, and then there's meant to be a certain section where you just go round and round without any increases or decreases. So I ignored that, and then I went straight into the decreases just to make sure I had enough yarn and it didn't become too big, because it looked quite big in the pictures. And I made these, and you have to sew on the little seed stitches afterwards, but I don't like that you can see them all inside. And then I hung it in the pod where I intended it to be, put the phones in, and it just sort of hangs forward. So again, not brilliant. So I'm not going to use them for that either. But I've decided I'm going to hang them in the kitchen of the pod. There's a wall there, and I'm going to put our tea bags in them. Not like that. I'm going to, empty them out. So I will put a picture in, because after this I will go and set it up, and hopefully it'll work. And I'm going to have the two. So I've made that one in the red, and then I made an orange one. It has got the leaves as well. It looks better when they're hung up against the wall because they can lean against something. So the orange one is for me and the red one's for Martin, because he has normal tea and I have decaf, so we can have our own little tea bags hanging up on the wall. So I was quite pleased with those. The colours I used were number 12, which is red, 13 orange, 11 green, and 19 yellow. And it's obviously Aran weight because it's the same yarn as I made the dishcloth, which is this yarn, Drops Paris. So this is my crochet logbook that I was going to show you, and it's slightly different to the knitting one. It's a slightly smaller book, which is a bit more manageable and laid out a bit differently. And I really like this one too. And I like this one because it has washing instructions in it. So that's what made me think to put them in the knitting one as well. And there's, I didn't know what WPI meant, but I'm thinking that must mean wraps per inch. So maybe that's how you do your gauge in crochet. I never gauge swatch in crochet. Most of the things I make are things like little bags and blankets and things where it doesn't really matter. But I really like that layout too, and I've stuck the label in the same, the pictures and the yarn sample, just in case you're on the lookout for any books to log your information. I didn't used to bother that much until I started watching YouTube and doing these videos, because I started doing the videos and I thought, I don't know anything about what I've made. I just used to make something, move on to the next thing, make something, move on to the next thing, and then no one else needed to know anything, did they? But I'm trying to be better and log everything down so that I can share them with you. And on to my last section, my sewing. So I am joining in with Anne from No Excuses podcast with her, it's hashtag NE Get Your Kit Off, where you get those kits off the shelf that have been languishing on there for years or months or even weeks, and just finish them. And my latest one is my craft pod from summer 2020, because last night I looked it up to see if I could find which actual edition. Was it edition? It's a subscription, which subscription it was. And I pulled out this one, which was the embroidered zip pouch. But I have decided not to do those flowers. Far too grown up for me. And I have used some templates out of this book. And it's really nice. I've made that peg bag, and it's got lots of little stitching on it. I really like doing that. So I have made my zip pouch using some ideas from that book, and I didn't use the lining that they gave me. I used this lining instead, which is plastic waterproof, so I can use this then as a makeup bag or toiletry bag. And I sewed two bunnies because it's Easter time coming up, and the stars because my camp pod's called Seren, which is Welsh for star, and then lots of little shooting stars on the back because I'm going to take this away when we go away in the pod. I'll put my makeup in it, or I don't think I'd get all my toiletries in there, to be honest. And I have a very nice toiletry bag that has got a hook. You can hang it down, which is perfect when you're in the showers. So this will probably just be for my makeup. So that's everything I've been making. I've had quite a busy month because I have been experimenting with things for the pod, and I'm really excited about going away in it, because we bought it in November and due to the weather and various other commitments, we haven't been able to go away in it, so very excited. I will try and film a little bit of our adventure. Don't know how good it will be. I'm not very good at filming outside or around other people. My son-in-law Matthew has promised to do a little video of the site, and so I shall try and put that in as well, but how successful it'll be I don't know, but it will be nice to have just a little reminder of our first trip away. Hopefully I will get that up before the end of April, so before my April makes video, just a little video will pop up about the camp pod. I will be taking some craft projects with me, obviously. How much I'll get done, I don't know, because the grandsons will be with us, and when they're with me, they usually take up all my time, which is fine. I'm happy to do that. But I will see you hopefully very soon. Take care, enjoy your crafting, and bye for now.